I invite you all to gently settle in. Take a nice, deep, relaxing inhale. Bring your eyes to close if that's comfortable for you, or to a soft gaze. Nice cleansing inhale, and on the exhale, open your mouth, and with a gentle sigh, sink into this temple that is you. Our opening prayer speaks to honoring community. Thank you for the ones who find their way to our sides, our brothers, sisters, tribes, and clans. Thank you for the willingness to take care of one another and value our contributions as a whole. Help us put the good of the whole before the good of the few. We need your support to expand as we take the next steps. Ease our fears and teach us to gather in a circle of equals. Remind us that a circle has no beginning and no end. Nature contains innumerable examples of the beauty of co-leading and the sacred geometry of many parts working as one. Manage our defenses, diffuse our bombs, humble us so we can tune into your divine frequency again and hear each other's joys and cries. Impart to us immense tolerance for the eccentricities in one another, knowing that we have them too, strengthening our connections and bring us together like family. Remove our irrational fears of moving along the road together and allow us to look at all options for teaming up. Inspire in us the creativity required to dream outside of our insular boxes and single-family homes. Instead, may we meet up at the fireside to break some bread together and spread our beautiful ideas out on the table like a feast. Lean us into one another's shoulders when we need a little care. Fill us with unassailable hope that our collaborations will yield great harvests. Humble our pace with patience for one another. Slow our progress when we need to take a break to truly appreciate and understand the consequences. Clear our injuries so we can hear what's being presented today. Teach us to barter and trade for what we need. Show us new ways of conducting community and commerce that benefit our higher purposes and our fellowship. Remind us that not so long ago, our currency was simply trading our best work for someone else's to meet our needs. Burn up our excess ego and inspire our communications with thunderous compassion. Provide us with the strength of character needed to be good to each other. Let us default to great love in times of doubting ourselves and each other, so we work together toward solutions. We give great thanks for this space, this community, those words by Pixie, Light Horse, and so it is. And this, for me, Patanjali and the 8 limbs of yoga is a passionate study of many, many years. And the opportunity leapt when Reverend Jane had mentioned that this month's focus was on nonviolence, Ahimsa. In other words, the opposite end of the stick of violence would be the expression of love in all ways and in all places. And that really quickly brought me to the conversation of just outlining this tradition and this way of thinking and this practice. Here in the West, yoga, we tend to consider asana, and we've even made that a little bit different than the way that it was practiced in the East in the beginning. It's a very rigorous, especially in bend, workout. You know, one who sweats gets, I don't know what. But so the 8 limbs of yoga, as laid out by Patanjali, really does create that template for a lifestyle. It's an all-inclusive way of being on a daily basis that leads us to this place of self-realization and this softening of the ego and the personality. And as I go through them, we will return back to the first one, which is Ahimsa, which is nonviolence. But we begin with the Yamas and the Niyamas. And I did, beside the page of the Yamas and the Niyamas, I also did the Ten Commandments. And it was interesting to me, going to circle back to that as well, once I say what the Yamas and Niyamas are. The Yamas are your ethical code. So it would be how you are living in community in the world on an ethical basis. And we start with Ahimsa, which is nonviolence. Nonviolence meaning, first and foremost, those thoughts that we hold about ourselves, those ways that we consider ourselves, that, we've heard monkey brain, but that perpetual cycle of criticism and condemnation that may come up throughout any given day. And then from there, we allow this place, this seat, asana, being comfortable seat, to really spread out and embrace all in our lives, everything that we see, in a way of nonviolence. And when we bring these places into ourselves first, then we're able to radiate out possible change when we encounter different situations that are violent in nature. When we have it in our comfortable seat, we will make a change as we step into that vibrational frequency. Then we come to Satya. That's the second of the Yamas, and that is truthfulness. Being truthful in your life, in your word, and in your actions. Then we come to Asteya, which is non-stealing. Number 4 is Brahmacharya, which speaks to, in these written words, chastity, sexual restraint, marital fidelity. And then the 5th of the Yamas is Aparigraha, which is non-possessiveness, not clutching or needing or holding. And it could be also just that releasing of all expectations, living from that place of real surrender, open hands and open heart. Those are the 5 yamas. Then we move to the niyamas, and the niyamas are your personal observances, the virtuous practices that you bring into your daily life. And the first one on that is saucha, which is purity, cleanliness of word and body. This is how we begin our day, in that way of cleanliness. As we cleanse and clean our body, we take cold showers to get our negative ions and everything restored back into stepping into the freshness of a new day, that kind of purity. And then as we go forward with our word, being our prayer, in all that we do, having that opportunity to reflect back to what is the level of our cleanliness. From there we go to santosha. That's the second of the niyamas, contentment. The third is tapas, which is austerity, perseverance. How deeply and well do we apply ourselves into any given situation? What is our stance? From the tapas we go to these last 2 I quite love, just even saying them. The 4th one is svadhyaya. Svadhyaya. Sanskrit is so beautiful. And this is the observance of self-study, which Unity really is amazing to me on the level of education and study that we all do, and the opportunities that are afforded to us here. So svadhyaya is that which we do in this community, many of us, and increasingly so, that we study introspectively where we are at on our spiritual path, our spiritual journey. We are studying spiritual texts. We are studying world religion. We're studying the constellation of this seat of self-realization and looking at all of the connecting dots along the way. And there are so many. So svadhyaya is that reflection, that introspection, and the spiritual study that we take upon our individual selves. The 5th one in the niyamas is Ishvara pranidhana. Always brings a little tears. Ishvara pranidhana is the constant and complete devotion to God, or Supreme Being. And that's when I flipped the page. So the 8 limbs of yoga were scribed by Patanjali in 400 BC. And on Ishvara Pranidhana, I was inclined to pull up the 10 Commandments, which were given to Moses on the stone tablets around 1300 BC, so much earlier. And that led me off on this fun tangent of the tone of the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not have no other God before me. Thou shalt not make up idols. Thou shalt not covet, not steal, not commit adultery. The tone of that was very being given us as this is what you will do and this is what you will not do in a very overbearing, strong, powerful way. When I study the Yamas and the Niyamas and the Hindu traditions and the multiple gods that we have Ganesh, we have Shiva, we have Krishna. There are so many expressions of God in the Hindu traditions which had me reflect on there are so many expressions of us. And how brilliant and lovely that they give us these stories and these wonderful places that each one of us feel into in a slightly different way. And it was the climate because we are collective consciousness from which the 10 Commandments came in that sense of authority. And then in this tradition, the Hindu tradition, there isn't the sense of authority as I read and understand it. It's more an invitation and an opportunity to study and deepen within oneself for the purpose of which is self-realization. The recognition and realization that we are one with God, that we are that supreme being, that we have constant concentration and devotion upon. So that was quite lovely to feel and see how we shift and where we have come and how our consciousness is lifting and rising and raising to a higher level of consciousness, to new thought. Again, the conversation that Unity has, that we are this spiritual community that is really engaged in the metaphysical, spiritual lives that we lead and rising in that way. Then I did a real kind of Canadian flip to, Canada and the United States, quite different countries actually being Canadian. And when I was reflecting on the 10 Commandments and the Yamas and the Niyamas, the 8 limbs, Canada was founded on the greater good for all. My big sister told me that once in a movie theater, midnight. I think it was The Last of the Lord and the Rings, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Theater is full, every seat, and everyone's talking. And I could hear a pin drop. And I turned to my big sister and I said, because I'd been living in Manhattan for many years, and in those theaters you can't hear a pin drop. So I turned to my sister and I said, what is this, Jill? And she said, well, we're founded on a much different principle. The vibration of this land was founded on the greater good for all. The United States of America's foundation was really taken by warring and aggression and bloodshed. They came to conquer. And for me, it just is, again, a reflection of the consciousness and where we are now at, and all of us seated in this room know that we participate deeply and fully, always, in the steadiness of the consciousness and the raising and the lifting of the consciousness as we go forward. Good, take a breath here. So then we go, those were the first and the second of the 8 limbs, the Yamas and the Niyamas, the codes within which we live as a society and a community, and those within which we practice unto ourselves to come to our own personal self-realization. The third of the 8 limbs is asana. So this is the one that we're very familiar with, and that is the practice of postures. Now, when this was designed, the practice of asana was to get the body ready to meditate, to move it in such a way that we connect with all of the meridians and the energetic channels, understanding and knowing that these are energy systems that are connected to everything and the divine. And we bring that alignment as we go through these beautiful postures with our breath. That was the point and purpose of asana and continues to be so. And the sages would practice for hours and then come to a comfortable seat in meditation. But they knew that they needed to really prepare the body, principally the mind, to come into that point of stillness so they could sit in silence and connect with greater consciousness. The fourth of the 8 limbs is pranayama. Prana being life force, that is our breath practice. And as we know, we come in with an inhale. We arrive here in third dimension. And when we return to Creator, we leave with an exhale. And life is breath, without which we're not here. And so the practice recognizes that breath is our ally and a powerful force in bringing our aliveness into these bodies. And pranayama has a wide range and very deep way of practicing breath in yoga, in preparation for meditation. And when we prepare to drop into meditation, I will guide us through a simple pranayama practice. The fifth of the 8 limbs is called pratyahara. And pratyahara is the withdrawal of senses from the external world, that sensory of looking out. Some meditation practice, the Buddhists will practice with their eyes open, actually. And there are ones where you can practice looking at a flame. And that, for me, is rather advanced because there is so much information that we tend to take in through the opening of these eyes. So having a closed eye moment where we practice the removal of that attachment or recognition of the external world to begin to drop into that seat of connection with the divine. And all of these, as you can see and feel and hear, are leading us to that meditative state. The next one is dharana. And dharana is in the seat of meditation, but it's a single focus. So it's training the brain through a single focus as you're seated, and that could be on a mantra, that could be with a breath practice, an inhale to a count and an exhale to count, but you are beginning to train the mind to come into a place of single focus and single track. And then number 7, we move into dhyana, which is meditation. And the meditation is the ability, having done all of these practices and come to this comfortable seat, to have a stream of consciousness where you're not attached to anything, but you are connected to that divine impulse within and open to higher consciousness. So it's more of a streaming as opposed to that single pointed focus that we experience in dharana. And then the last of the 8 limbs, when we've come through this practice, is samadhi. And samadhi has been called enlightenment, more considered to be complete integration. That we have come to the practice, we have moved our bodies, we have breathed our breath, this fullness of prana and life force within us. We have found this comfortable seat. We have learned how to focus. We can expand our consciousness and connect with the divine, and there we sit in this place that we have all, I'm sure, experienced for moments in our lives, samadhi, that incredible place of integration. So those are the 8 limbs as they have been written and brought to us through the practice of yoga. Ashtanga, meaning 8, Patanjali, and when we now go back up to Ahimsa as we prepare to go into our meditation, we're going to take a moment to just breathe into the place within you and where you may feel, see, experience any holding of that which is not love towards oneself. So I invite you all to close your eyes. Begin to sit into a comfortable seat. Draw your seat as close to the back of the chair as possible and feel both of your sit bones evenly grounded. Feel your feet firmly planted on the ground. Feel your calves, your knees, the tops of your thighs. As you come to your buttocks, feel that natural arch in your lower spine, letting the back of the chair support you. And now gently draw the head of your arm bones back as you broaden your collarbone and allow your sternum, your heart center, to lift. Draw the sides of your throat back in space. Imagine you've got a very ripened fruit under your chin, and you drop your chin just enough to hold that. Feel the back of your neck lengthen. Bring your awareness to your jaw. Find a softness there. Bring your awareness up to your third eye. And draw that point of focus back an inch or two to the center of your cranium, your skull, your brain. And now bring your awareness with an inhale all the way from the base of your spine like a shaft, a column of light, all the way up, filling lower, middle, upper lungs. Allow your shoulders to lift slightly towards your ears, and the breath continues to the top of your skull, your crown chakra. And as you exhale, let your shoulders melt together at your back. Draw your navel in towards your spine. I call this navel intelligence. This is your seat of power, the intelligence of the navel area. And one more nice, deep, cleansing inhale from your tail, which is rooting down into the center of the earth, all the way up, this shimmering column of light. Lifting your sternum, your heart heavenward, softening your crown. And as you exhale, follow that breath all the way down, drawing your navel to spine. I'm going to take us for a couple of rounds through a pranayama practice. We will inhale to my count of 4. We will hold to my count of 4. Exhale to 6 and hold for 2. Starting with the cleansing breath in, inhale. And exhale. Every exhale, engage that navel intelligence, pulling the belly back. Inhale to 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale to 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 2. Inhale 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 2. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 2. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 2, and continue into your meditation. very gently. Bring yourself back. Gentle movement of fingers and toes. Softly rubbing the tops of your thighs. Bring your awareness back to this space, to this time.